One, out of the estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard Titanic, more than 1,500 lost their lives, making it one of the deadliest maritime disasters during peacetime in world history. Families were shattered and entire social classes were affected. Only about 710 people survived. Two, the Titanic received multiple iceberg warnings via wireless telegraph from nearby ships like the Masaba and the Californian. However, these were either downplayed, miscommunicated, or ignored completely. One warning even came less than an hour before the crash. Titanic continued sailing at almost full speed, which was typical for the time, but dangerously reckless under these conditions. Three, despite having over 2,200 people on board, the Titanic carried lifeboats for only 1,178 people, barely over half. This wasn't against regulations at the time, but it was due to outdated maritime rules based on ships' tonnage and not capacity. Tragically, several lifeboats were launched with many empty seats, wasting precious survival space. Four, the iceberg ripped open a 300-foot gash along the starboard hull, puncturing 5 watertight compartments. The design could withstand flooding in 4 compartments, but not 5. Water began flooding the bow rapidly, and the ship began to tilt forward, making evacuation more difficult by the minute. 5. The North Atlantic water was below freezing. Hypothermia would have set in almost instantly, and within 15 to 20 minutes, most of the people in the water were dead frozen. Only a handful of those who entered the sea without a lifeboat survived long enough to be rescued. 6. While the women and children first rule was supposed to be a guideline, some officers interpreted it too strictly, refusing men entry into lifeboats even when plenty of seats were available and no one else was willing to get on the boat. As a result, 80% of the men on board Titanic died, including many who followed the rule and willingly gave up their spot. 7. For decades, survivors claimed the Titanic broke in half, but this was largely dismissed until the actual wreck was discovered at the bottom of the Atlantic in 1985. The ship split between the third and fourth funnels as the stern rose out of the water. The violent break flung passengers and debris into the sea, adding to the horror. 8. A coal bunker fire had been smoldering inside the ship for days prior to departure. Some experts believe the intense heat may have weakened the whole structure, particularly near the point of iceberg impact, possibly making the Titanic more vulnerable to the gash that ultimately doomed it. 9. Titanic's band, led by Wallace Hartley, famously played music to calm passengers as total chaos unfolded around them. They played right up until the ship sank. All 8 musicians died, and their story became one of the most chilling examples of staying calm in the face of certain death. 10. Many crew members had little to no training in emergency protocols or lifeboat drills. Lifeboat launching was very chaotic and disorganized. Many of the crew didn't know how to operate the davits, and there was confusion over who was in charge as the ship went down. If you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Appreciate it very much. Number 11. Titanic was widely marketed as unsinkable due to its watertight compartments and reinforced hull. This led to overconfidence by the crew and passengers. It also contributed to the lack of lifeboats, poor evacuation training procedures, and disbelief in the severity of the collision after it occurred. 12. Third-class steerage passengers, mostly immigrants, faced physical barriers trying to reach the upper decks, including locked gates and delayed notifications. Many had no idea the ship was sinking until it was too far late. As a result, only about 25% of third-class passengers survived. 13. While many of the first-class children were saved, more than half of all children aboard died, especially true for third-class families. Whole families perished together, some trapped in lower decks or separated from their loved ones in the chaos. 14. Lookouts in the crow's nest, including Frederick Fleet, were watching for icebergs with the naked eye. A critical key to the binocular case was misplaced in Southampton Port, and the binoculars stayed locked away. This potentially cost them precious seconds or minutes to react. 15. The night was pitch black with no moon and no wind, creating a deadly illusion. The calm sea meant there were no waves crashing against the iceberg, making it almost invisible to the naked eye until it was too late to turn the ship. 16. Nearby ship Californian saw Titanic's distress rockets, but its wireless operator had gone to sleep. The captain assumed it was a celebration or simply a drill. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late to help. Titanic's pleas went largely unanswered in its final hours. 17. From the collision at 11:40 p.m. to final submersion at 2:20 a.m., Titanic sank in exactly 2 hours and 40 minutes. The descent into panic, darkness, freezing water, and death unfolded terrifyingly fast, and rescue didn't arrive for hours later. 18. Famous names like Milton Hershey, the chocolate tycoon, and J.P. Morgan of Morgan Chase Bank canceled their trips last minute. Others survived by changing rooms, boarding a different lifeboat, or missing the ship entirely. Survivors often reported feeling lifelong guilt or superstition over their escape. 19. The recovery ship McKay Bennett was dispatched days later after the accident, retrieving about 306 bodies. However, many were left behind due to rapid decomposition, weight limitations, or family identification legal issues. Hundreds more simply sank to the bottom of the ocean floor and were never accounted for or recovered. 20. From museum exhibits to the Titanic wreck itself, many claim paranormal events occur around Titanic artifacts. Cameras malfunction, voices heard, or unexplained phenomena happen. The Titanic has become the focus of ghost stories, myths, and tales of bad luck linked to cursed objects or divine punishment.